the, on Holy Wednesday, and I'd like to read the Gospel of today. It comes from Matthew 26, verses 14 to 25. Then one of the 12, who was called Judas Iscariot, went to the chief priests and said, "What are you willing to give me if I hand him over to you?" They paid him 30 pieces of silver, and from that time on he looked for an opportunity to hand him over. On the first day of the feast of unleavened bread, the disciples approached Jesus and said, "Where do you want us to prepare for you to eat the Passover?" He said, "Go into the city to a certain man and tell him, 'The teacher says, my appointed time draws near. In your house I shall celebrate the Passover with my disciples.'" The disciples then did as Jesus had ordered and prepared the Passover. When it was evening, he reclined at table with the 12, and while they were eating, he said, "Amen, I say to you, one of you will betray me." Deeply distressed at this, they began to say to him, one after another, "Surely it is not I, Lord." He said in reply, "He who has dipped his hand into the dish with me is the one who will betray me. The Son of Man indeed goes, as it is written of him, but woe to that man by whom the Son of Man is betrayed. It would be better for that man if he had never been born." Then Judas, his betrayer, said in reply, "Surely it is not I, Rabbi." He answered, "You have said so." Dear friends, Holy Wednesday is also called Spy Wednesday, and it refers to Judas's betrayal of Jesus on this day. The term takes its root from the Christians of the Middle Ages, who applied the term to Judas, who, after having been paid off, had gone to the side of the chief priests and intended to hand Jesus over to them. In modern terms, the chief priests now had a mole, a clandestine informant, in the circle of Jesus. In Matthew's Gospel that we have read, we see a detail that many people are familiar with: the 30 pieces of silver that Judas received for having betrayed Jesus. What is 30 pieces of silver? A quick look at Google would tell us that the modern equivalent of 30 pieces of silver is about 5 weeks' money, about 5 weeks' wage based on a 6-day working week. The meaning is much more profound than the actual value. Perhaps it's more figurative than literal. The book of Exodus, that is in chapter 31, verse 32, says, "If the ox gores a slave, male or female, its owner will pay the price, 30 shekels, to their master, and the ox will be stoned." And then in the prophet of Zechariah, chapter 11, verse 12, we read, "I then said to them, if you see fit, give me my wages. If not, never mind." So they weighed out my wages, 30 shekels of silver. You see, dear friends, the price of a gored slave, or the wage of an underpaid shepherd. Jesus was given so little value, even in his betrayal. But you know, the most painful thing about this betrayal is not about the 30 pieces of silver. We can see this pain even in the verse. More of this when we hear, "He who has dipped his hand into the dish with me is the one who will betray me, one whom I have shared food with, one who is my friend and disciple." And Judas asking, "Surely it is not I, Rabbi," after everyone had asked, must have been very tense. Yet it was what happened, that the Lord was betrayed by a friend and disciple. The eve of the most important days in the year, ends with a situation so grave and disheartening, a story relived when we live out our own stories of betrayal. Dear friends, for our meditation, we ask ourselves, have I experienced being betrayed or having betrayed someone? How do I feel about the fact that Jesus allowed himself to be betrayed, even by a close friend? Our prayer is, Lord, I ask forgiveness for all the times I have betrayed you through my sins. Amen. Dear friends, a while ago, just right before I tuned in for my good morning talk, I was listening to the homily of uh, in the mass, in the pontifical mass, the homily by Bishop Precioso Cantillas, the bishop of Maasin, Southern Leyte. When he was, while he is right now, he's still celebrating, presiding over that mass. And as soon as his homily ended, I began this morning talk. And it's an important day in our nation, in our history, not only in the Philippines, but in the history of the Catholic Church, because we celebrate the commemoration or the anniversary of the first Mass in the Philippines on this day, March 31, in 1521. And he was saying that the celebration of the other dioceses of the first Mass would be on Easter Sunday, inasmuch as the first Mass in the Philippines somehow coincided with Easter. So let us all remember this, not only this day, but this year, when we celebrate the faith, the Christian faith coming into our islands. And so it is very meaningful that it comes during this celebration of the most important days in the year. That is the celebration of the Holy Week, or the Paschal Triduum, beginning tomorrow. And I'd like to advertise somehow uh, what we will be doing these days here in the Diocesan Shrine of Mary Help of Christians for Holy Week 2021. So the Paschal Triduum begins tomorrow evening with the Mass of the Lord's Supper, Monday, Thursday at 6 p.m. And then the following day, Good Friday at 3 p.m., we have the celebration of the Passion and the Veneration of the Cross. And then on Black Saturday or Holy Saturday at 7 in the evening, we shall have the Easter Vigil. And the usual Sunday schedule is there, okay, but only two Masses, 10:30 a.m. and 5:30 p.m. in celebration of these most important days of the year. So I'd like to thank you all for having listened and having participated in this good morning talk of ours. May God bless you all. Have a great Paschal Triduum.